Stephen A., your thoughts on the election as it just went down?
I was surprised at how lopsided it was. I was not surprised by the outcome.
Right.
I saw the outcome coming from a mile away. You have to take into account, listen, we respect our president, Joe Biden, but here's the reality. He got into office, he promised to be a transitional president, to be a stopgap to pave the way for somebody else to come on board. Into the midterms, it was supposed to be a red wave. It did not happen. The Democrats was flying high. He felt the momentum because he was the incumbent. And instead of leaving, he decided to stay. Yeah. When he decided to stay, the Democrats were in a quandary because they were expecting him to leave. Now he wants to stay. They're around him. They're seeing the fastball has dissipated to some degree. They're seeing that he's not what he used to be. And what do you do about it? You grease the skids. There's no primary for him to experience. You let him go on stage June 27th, and clearly he was exposed. 3.5 weeks later, he's forced and compelled to step away because donors to the Democratic establishment, they were not going to support that. And then Kamala Harris is inserted. I don't blame her one bit. I thought she did a phenomenal job.
Yep.
Now, while this ad plays, family, Stephen A. Smith is correct when it comes to history, but let's be clear here. She got destroyed by Tulsi Gabbard. Nobody was rocking with her then. Nobody was rocking with her in the White House. Nobody was rocking with her as vice president. But like I said, Stephen A. Smith is right as far as history, but correction, she did a horrible job. But let's continue.
She did what she could, but you can't overcome that kind of situation. And remember, there's 2 C words that are incredibly important in America. Capitalism is one. Competition is another, because it's a metaphor for capitalism in a lot of people's eyes. Because you were inserted, even though you were the vice president and it was the Biden-Harris administration, you had folks who are independent. I'm not talking about those on the right, and I'm not talking about those on the left, just independents, who said, wait a minute, she didn't experience a primary either. In the last...
All right, wait. Now, I want to add a little bit of context, family, and I want to get you guys' thoughts down in the comments, okay? So first of all, I think anybody and their mom could articulate better than Kamala Harris when it comes to being competent, being young, and the background and having the resume that Kamala Harris has. They should be able to articulate themselves very well and not throw some nonsensical word salad when it comes to answering basic questions, let alone when it comes to economics and knowing their economics 101 at least, and understanding that they should be able to say what they did in the last 3.5 years. She was the worst vice president in history. 92%, as it was reported, that her staff and people couldn't work with her. And at the end of the day, they keep running with this motive that if she had more time, like, for example, a year, instead of getting thrown into the gulag like she did, she would have done anything different. She wouldn't have done nothing different. She would have done the same thing that she have done in the couple months that she was, or however long, in that short amount of time. They keep running off of that motive and that narrative that she had being thrown into the gulag. But when her hat was thrown into the gulag, she was very happy about it. And on top of it, let's not take away from this, they did say that Joe Biden was competent. So let's not be disingenuous here, but let's continue.
Time we saw her in a primary was 4 years ago, and she didn't even make it to Iowa. They used that as an excuse to point to her level of inexperience. Then you got the war in Russia and Ukraine. You got the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Hamas and Hezbollah and all of that stuff. And you had Trump using codes. Look, do you want her? Where is she? Where's the interviews? Where's she showing herself? Where's the tough questions? Where's the interrogation? And he leaned on certain things. And you knew people were going to gravitate to that because right now, as divided as our country is, fear comes associated with that. And because that fear was there, he fed off of it.
Yeah.
And people bought it, hook, line, and sinker. And that's why he's the president.
And Stephen, let me ask you, because I agree on all counts. There's a lot to unpack of what kind of went wrong for Democrats here. I think if...
And also, at the end of the day, let's not forget, Barack Obama, she brought out, let alone also Michelle Obama, who called men, particularly black men, misogynists because they didn't vote for a woman. They didn't want a woman and didn't vote for this woman in particular to lead the country. Will a woman ever be ready to lead a country? Comment down below, family. I want to get you guys' perspective. But the black men in the black community in particular, they don't feel as though a woman should be running the country.
Factor is the working class feeling left behind, not reaching out to rural Americans. But what do you identify as what Democrats got wrong? And it seems like you agree Biden maybe should have stepped aside sooner.
He definitely should have stepped aside. I said it a year ago. I was on camera. Everybody was getting on me. I said it a year ago. You need to step aside.
You took some heat.
You remember, though, that he said, does everybody remember he originally said he was just going to do it for 4 years?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I brought up.
Right. And did you think that once you know who stepped in, he said, well, there's nobody, we don't have anybody?
Well, the point is that
right.
it's not about who you're going up against when you know you're not what you used to be. And see, this is where covering sports puts me at a distinct advantage. I cover people every day where it's time for you to go, but you're holding on and you don't want to leave. People who cover the world of sports are accustomed to seeing that all the time. And so now here you are, to answer your question directly, you are the left. You leaned and you were a prisoner to the extreme left in a lot of people's eyes. Well, guess.
And I got to agree with everything Stephen A. Smith is saying here. The left, they went too far. They went extreme. You know what I'm saying? And they went so extreme to the point that men and a lot of people we the people who voted and our voices have been heard, we don't want urinals in women's bathrooms. We don't want men in women's sports. You know what I'm saying, family? And that's why you had a red wave. And on top of it, the whole campaign that Kamala Harris ran was based off reproductive and misogyny. So at the end of the day, we got to call it how it is. And I'm the type of individual that's going to say what people won't say, right? But let's continue.
Guess what? Most of America doesn't operate on the fringes. Whether you're left or you're right, you're relatively centrist. You believe in compromise, negotiation, working with one another. Nobody gets to get everything they want. The problem is those on the fringes continuously push for you to get everything you want.
Yeah.
They're not about getting things done. They're about getting their way. And if they're not going to get their way, they're about complaining and griping.
And I agree. At the end of the day, we need real solutions here. And also, on top of that, let me add the context to the gender war, or the gender war that's still raging to this day, I can say. Because we don't want men in women's sports. We had the whole thing with the Olympics and the swimmers. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I don't think it's that hard or what people are saying or the Republicans are saying. At the end of the day, the Democrats used grievance when they didn't get their way, and they used identity politics as a way, a weaponry, to provoke those to go out and oppose to vote the way they want them to vote. Doesn't mean it was the best interest for the people. So they seen the people as a leg up.
About it, because they understand that when you are operating based off of grievance, that's usually what provokes you to get to the polls. And that is why they don't mind feeling aggrieved and displaying and disseminating that kind of message, because they know people are going to gravitate to that. And as a result, that might get them to the polls, you thinking you're going to get what you want as a result of it. And in this particular case, the Republicans were right.
So you think the Republicans are sort of an extreme fringe party?
No, I don't think that they're an extreme fringe party. I think that they're operating against those they believe are extreme on the left. Like, for example, when you talk about the LGBTQ community, I'm a fiscal conservative and I'm a social liberal. I'm fiscal with my dollars. I ain't apologizing for not wanting to pay high taxes to anybody. I'm not apologizing for that, right? But outside of that, I'm pretty liberal. Live and let live, okay? But you had folks on the left that were introducing some things when we got in the whole transgender issue, and they were talking about bathrooms, or they were talking about males transitioning to females and competing against girls in sports and stuff like that. These
That's
are
less than 1% of the population.
I understand that,
But you know what?
This woman is so out of touch and so misinformed. I don't know who hurt this woman. You cannot be out of that. You can't be out of touch that much that you don't understand that we don't want urinals in women's bathrooms. We don't want men in women's sports. And then you wonder why men, and particularly, I'm going based off the black men since Kamala Harris, the campaign had Barack Obama and Michelle Obama calling men misogynists, and particularly black men. You wonder why black men didn't want a woman leading the country. Sometimes you have to save women from themselves. She is so out of touch. Just read the room. And this is why you had a red wave.
But see, but I think that's where the mistake is made.
Yeah,
you're saying it's ridiculous. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But most of the voters out there don't think like that.
But
that
means they don't have the information.
Okay, but 90% of the voters don't have the information. If you're out there busting your tail to make ends meet and to pay your bills, and you're going to work every day, and you got a family to take care of, and you're in New York City, you're getting stuck 2 hours of your day, you're stuck in traffic. You understand? You got a whole bunch of stuff to go through. You don't have time to know what you and I know.
Maybe you need to listen to the news when you're in traffic.
Well, again,
maybe
I agree
not.
with
Not
that.
be uninformed.
That was a slow clap.
You listen to stuff that's going to take you away from the things
Yeah.
that brings
Stress
down
you
your
out.
spirit. And that's unfortunately what most voters are doing.
Let me ask you this. How you want to speak?
No.
Sorry.
Sure.
Because Howard Stern says that he wasn't confident that the country was ready to elect the first female president because he knows.
Now, this is the misogyny question. She's basically trying to cover the misogynist topic, but she's trying to indirectly say it by encompassing it within the question without actually saying misogyny. So she's trying to say, we run it back a little bit.
He wasn't confident that the country was ready to.
And that's unfortunately what most voters are doing.
Let me ask you this. How you want to speak?
No.
Sorry.
Sure.
Because Howard Stern says that he wasn't confident that the country was ready to elect the first female president because he knows, quote, how men talk
And she's using a question utilizing Howard Stern.
behind closed doors about us. So we're very privileged to have a great guy here today.
Yeah.
Tell what do men say about us behind
Well,
closed
first of all,
doors?
Yeah.
Say it to
Do
our
tell.
faces.
Do tell.
I don't hide, so no worries there. Here's the deal. I respectfully disagree with Howard Stern, only from the standpoint that I wish he had been more specific. Why don't you say white men? Because let me tell you something about black men. We love our mamas.
I know that.
And we revere black women. And when we're trifling, we know it's us. It's not them.
Right, yeah.
You
I
understand?
understand.
So when he's saying that, okay, well then let's talk about white men. We have a white power structure that still exists in this country today. I understand the white populace in this country was over 85% at one time. It's now dipped to about 57.4%.
Yep.
The white power structure is still in place. So when we talk about misogyny, when we talk about chauvinism, when we talk about women not necessarily being empowered, well, who's in a position of power to surrender some of that power? It's white men. So
Okay, we're going to leave it there because I believe that he's simping out now, and he's basically, when I mean simp, I mean he's telling those women what they want to hear. See, I'm going to tell you the things that they may not necessarily say out loud, but I'm going to tell you how it is. Within the black culture, I believe, and I disagree with him because it's a movement of black men, particularly since we're talking about black men, are disassociating themselves, and just men in general are disassociating themselves with, in particular, extreme women, right? And also on top of that, I believe that black men are actually, and men are actually upset with their mothers. And they're actually not happy with their mothers, in particular black men, because they became son husbands and the mom decided to leave their family and walk out and leave a broken home. But I'm going to leave it there, family. Get this video a thumbs up. Let me know you guys' perspective on that. No family. Peace.